132 in Bush. I got him at gunpoint.
They're pulling them out.
10-1-1. Advise ready for camp.
God!
Welcome to another episode of War Stories. I'm Tom.
I'm Chuck.
I'm John. What's up?
I love it. I love it. I always love when that little addition comes in because it means John's back on the show for everybody. John's back on the show. Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? How are you guys doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, living the life.
Yeah, I know it's been a little.
You
rough
are
lately.
living the life.
A life, that's for sure.
A life.
Yeah, last week we dedicated an episode to a friend of yours that recently passed. So I thought we'd be remiss if we didn't check in with you and make sure you're doing all right. You were part of the procession and everything, I guess.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was cool. It was nice. I wasn't even notified of the procession going to the mortuary from the medical examiner's office.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so I showed up to work and they were basically like, hey, we got a car ready for you. It's nice. It's washed. Starts at this time and ready to go.
How fucking great is going to a division that comes and does this for you? Or not division, an agency that does this for you because they know that you used to work at that agency and that you would probably be upset if you didn't get to go and they just got it all ready for you.
Yeah, no, it's huge. Last night I got an email saying, hey, like they were updated on the funeral services or whatever. So now they're adjusting my schedule. I didn't even have to ask anyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's called taking care of your people.
You don't see that often anymore.
Well, let's back out before we get into that. This is why we're here. You are now, I think, finally home.
Oh man,
right?
I don't even. It's funny. It's like
Let's fucking hope so.
No, this is it. This is it for me.
Right.
I can't do this anymore. Number one, if I had an option to be out, and that would be okay. But with this, as far as this agency is concerned, with the retirement, with the money, with the schedule, what seems to be like a normally functioning police department, yeah, I have a hard time believing I'm going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about that. We can get into however much you want. So we can review kind of your journey for those who are just joining us. John, if you haven't gone back and listened to, John and I started this show, a couple of years ago now, and then subsequent to COVID and me moving out of state and John getting into some serious shit that he had to take care of at work and new family and stuff. Chuck came on board as our new co-host, and John will come back every once in a while and check in with us. But you moved up here near me to the northern Idaho Panhandle area. What, like a year and a half ago now?
I think we're definitely at 2 years.
2 years?
That's
weird because I'm almost at 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm coming up
you're
on
right.
2
It
years.
has been
Coming up on 2 years.
2 years. Yep.
Yeah.
The end of December will be 2 years. Like actually 2 years.
Right.
Because I just went out when you left to go up there.
Yeah.
I just got injured, so.
Yeah. So you came up here, and I don't know how much you want to get into, but you found a new agency and discovered that small town police work has just as many problems as big city police work. Sometimes only the city council and the city officials and the administration handles it a bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll get into whatever you guys want to know. I mean,
No,
I
this
don't work
is
there.
you, man.
Yeah, I don't work there anymore, so I don't really care. But yeah, so I guess I kind of start this off by when I had first left the LA area. Honestly, I kind of felt like going to somewhere that's smaller and not as much crime, if any, would be a better pace. For my family, it was nice, but
Yeah,
right.
But it was definitely not for me. Like I just, as far as the pace is concerned, there was some stuff going on here, but not a whole lot. What I found in the beginning was that they were almost blind to legitimate crime or the criminal element that was here. And I think that a lot of that had to do with just not knowing, just not knowing how to recognize certain things. And then other things I just felt like they didn't want to address. And
Right.
I
I
didn't
think I was going to say last time we spoke in that update, I think I asked you that question. Is the caliber of police work different in a smaller agency as opposed to a bigger agency because of the calls, like the amount of time an officer has on, like say an officer has 5 years on at the agency that you just left, as opposed to being in a big city, 5 years on, it's going to be a different caliber of officer and you're going to see more things, right? But sometimes it doesn't always equate. But I think I asked you that question last time and you were going to wait to answer. And I think you're answering it right now.
Yeah. So basically, I think you can do fucking probation or a training phase in LA and you got a 20-year cop here. So it's depending on the division that you work in. It's just not a lot going on necessarily call for service wise. However,
The
that doesn't
volume.
mean, huh?
The volume,
Yeah, the
right?
volume is just not there.
Right.
However, it's a different type of criminal element that is kind of up in these parts, and that's more like cartel related smuggling, whether that's human trafficking or narcotics or guns, things like that. You got to remember that a lot of this stuff starts from the southern border, California, Mexico. It works its way up through the state, and then you start to get to these northern states, and in northern Idaho you have a panhandle, and that's the shortest landmass between here and Montana. So
Right.
why not cross in a panhandle then go through the whole freaking state on the south end? It just doesn't make sense. The risk isn't worth the reward at that point.
Well, if you think about it, right, you can come in from Seattle, cross the state of Washington where, half that shit's legal. And then when you get to the panhandle where people take that shit seriously still, you can cross it in less than an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and
Right.
if you know times of, schedules, I mean, the agency that controls the highways out here, or ISP, hopefully we don't have any drug smugglers listening to this. They're off at like 2 a.m. Like
Shit.
There's no one on the road for hours. And other agencies are going to pick up the highway.
Right. Sheriff's departments, county mounties.
But as far as interdiction goes, I mean, that's it. I mean, it's a free ride, at least through the state. So I started, I was decently knowledgeable with the narcotic game and all that other stuff. So I kind of switched my thought process from like street level interdiction to, legitimate highway interdiction and things like that. Started going to more classes for things like that. And what I started to find is that, we have a smaller town that's on the border, of a state that basically is a major city. You got Spokane not that far away.
Right. And Spokane's a city. Like,
yeah.
Fucking Gotham, dude.
Yeah. And Sinaloa cartel runs that. And you got a lot of stuff coming over the border. But having a town right over a border is actually really crucial to people like that because it's a nice little stop point, for whatever, like stash houses, and, or if they got to switch cars or, whatever the fuck they're doing, it's nice. Not to mention there's a bunch of truck stops like right on that borderline too. So you got people stopping and what, anyways, you know how that goes. So,
right.
So I started unveiling a criminal element that was deeply rooted into this city. I shouldn't say just me. It was myself and then a few people that kind of saw what I was doing. They hopped on
laterals. Laterals.
Yeah, actually laterals. And then two homegrown people here that were working like their version of a specialized assignment was kind of like, how the finding? And so that was kind of like some teachable moment stuff. And then so anyways, that's kind of how it all started happening. And then once I started to get really, really deep into this, some things started happening at work. Man, honestly, like I'm trying to remember what the first thing that caught my attention was, but I feel like it was more like, hey, look, I'm coming to you with a huge problem we have in this city. It's being deeply affected because of the narcotics that are coming in, and we have nothing in place to combat it. And when everybody else does, whether it's good or bad, they still got to combat it. And that's when I started getting a lot of the, excuses for why we're not doing it. Hard no's. They stopped sending me to certain trainings.
That's weird.
Yeah, just weird stuff. Just weird stuff. And if anyone knows me, I take my job seriously, and I don't allow myself, especially when it comes to my job. Like if I'm going to commit to something, whether that's a specialized unit or creating a unit or whatever it is, I'm not going to half-ass it. And I think what was happening was they were forcing me to half-ass what I was trying to do. They weren't giving me enough resources or us enough resources to actually do what we had to do, which really fucking pissed me off. And I let them know it. So,
which, as we all know, goes over really well with administrators.
Yeah, and here's the problem. And this is
you're like the favorite child of every agency you've worked for.
I don't know about the favorite, maybe to some people, but not everybody.
No, that's definitely sarcastic.
So and what's sad is you have, people that are homegrown here and then are now captains, chief, lieutenant. Number one, I've got more time on than them. Number two, well, some of them, and then number two, again, they might say, "Oh, look at the bars I have on my collar. I got 15 years here." Okay, doesn't equate to shit as far as I'm concerned. And honestly, as far as LA is concerned, as we all know, just because you got bars doesn't mean you got experience. So
and oftentimes they give the bars to the people with the least experience because they promote quickly because they're administrative cops, not street cops.
Right. Yeah. And they got degrees and shit like that.
Yep. They're not true leaders. So not saying all of them, but a lot of them, especially nowadays. So
I want to equate to the military people listening, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but think of like a West Point graduate who's never seen combat showing up and telling a gunny with 20 years deployment experience what the fuck to do, and the gunny's going, "Listen, shithead."
Yeah.
Well, I've seen it. I know John's seen it. I've fucking seen it. A boot ass butter bar comes up and he tries to tell him what to do, and then you get the salty staff sergeant or the fucking salty gunnery sergeant's like, "Hey son, sit the fuck down. Why don't you learn what we do first?"
Right.
Yeah.
And they get all angry and he's like, "Why don't you go talk to XO?" And the XO's like, "Sit the fuck down. Watch them. Let them teach you."
Yeah.
So they get humbled real quick.
So I mean that's kind of where all my issues kind of started, because like I said, I'm not going to just sit back and allow that stuff to happen. So I kept pressure on them. I should. Yeah, I definitely wasn't disrespectful in a way of like, I know better than you. Ultimately, it did turn into that because they kind of forced me into that corner. But in the beginning, it did not for quite a while. They were giving us issues on my search warrants, meaning like just making bad calls. So, and this wasn't just the department. This is the prosecutor's office as well. I mean, I'm talking about, even working a short-term case that I had where I wrote a warrant, they're basically giving me shit about the warrant. I basically say, fuck yourself. I'm going to go anyway. I'm going to get this shit signed. Weird. It gets signed. They're basically telling me what I need in my warrant as far as department, lieutenant, sergeants. This is what you need. This is what you did, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how many warrants have you written? No, you don't need all this. All you need is probable cause to get here, whatever. So I end up getting it signed. Cool. We served the warrant. We ended up getting trafficking amounts of methamphetamine and a bunch of guns. He was a convicted felon, and he was not home. He was in Florida, so we took advantage of that. And long story short, I can't even make this up. He had a giant pile of meth sitting on his ID inside his room. So we had to put that in or whatever. DA's office, they didn't want to file on anything because they said he wasn't home. And we can't prove anyone wasn't there while he was gone. I mean, just pathetic bullshit like that. And so, it wasn't even an argument. Like I actually just went into the DA's office that didn't file this case. I was like, hey, and she knew I was upset, but I was respectful. I had another officer with me. Her name's Doc, if anyone knows her. And so she
name dropping.
Whatever, I don't care. So basically, she's the type, and I verbatim, she's giving me the runaround on why she didn't want to file on a case, and I literally asked her, I was like, hey, look, so you're telling me if I have a reason to stop, some dude walking down the street, and I get consent to go into his pockets, and I pull out a bag of meth, and he says, these aren't my pants, you're not going to file on that? And she literally looked right in my face and goes, yeah, I'm not filing on that. So this is the type of, because this is the type of, you can call it whatever you want, but this is the type of stuff that we're dealing with out here. And that translates into the department, right? Because DAs have to work with departments have to work with DAs, but if they're cut from the same cloth, they're going to get the same shit. So
right.
long story short, I had this conversation with her. She got pretty disrespectful in the meeting, mocking that I was from California, and ultimately,
Wow.
my partner and I left. I went right back to the captain. Was like, hey, look, just so you know, this conversation I wouldn't say got heated, but she got super disrespectful. Like she knew I was serious, but I was never disrespectful with her. I just got my point across, and that was it. But this is what she did. Cool, it'll be taken care of. Shit, I got written up for that.
What?
Not even. Yeah, man, I should have. I didn't honestly quite know what we were talking about today. I kind of forgot. I would have had the write up in front of me. I would have fucking read it to you. But basically, some caveat to the man. What did they try to get me, or what did they try to get me with?
Conduct unbecoming.
It was conduct unbecoming. Yeah, basically keeping relationships.
Yeah.
That's
the catch-all, right? That's what they're gonna do.
That's
because
chicken shit.
They got nothing else better to do, and they knew there was nothing else. So whatever. So
that's like arresting someone for 148.
Yeah, but
when they didn't swing.
But that takes care of problem. So they write me up for that, and it's kind of like, what the fuck? I battle that write up, even though it was chicken shit. Still like I'm okay. Like look, I got a stack of write ups. I'm okay with taking write ups that I deserve. Like it comes in the career, especially if you're a proactive cop and you're doing good things out there. It happens. So I'm totally okay with taking shit like that on the chin, even days, whatever. I've done it. So, but when you write me up for something that legitimately was not my fault, or I didn't do anything wrong, I'm not letting it slide. So I requested for months. I requested to sit in front of the DA, like their boss, to be like, hey, this is a lie. She lied about, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. They wouldn't set it up.
Wow.
Did you file a formal complaint?
Well, we were going that route, but ultimately I was still getting kind of screwed at work. So, meaning with, they switched my schedule. Like they were switching my schedule. They were giving people new cars that were
fucking retaliation, bro.
Yeah, lower serial numbers than me. They, like I said, they stopped training. They completely stopped letting me work with the marshals, the DEA, another special enforcement team out here in Coeur d'Alene. It was a giant fucking shit show, and they were writing me up for everything known to man. So like that, I got into a little scuffle with a dude, with some tweaker, and when I had him on the ground, I was cuffing him, and as I got him cuffed, he grabbed my gun belt and pulled on it, and all I did was smack his hand away and kind of push the side of his head into the ground, and I was like, "You touch my gun belt again, I'm gonna send you to the hospital." That's all I said, with an F-bomb in there. Wrote me up.
Let me guess, they wrote you up for the F-bomb.
Yeah, they wrote me up for fuck. I explained to them, I'm like, dude, like I've seen what dudes can do, handcuffed, rotating belts. Like, I was like, and then the captain, he was sitting in a meeting after this write up, I have my rebuttal in front of them, and they're trying to tell me public's perception. And I go, okay, so then what would you have done? And he goes, well, I would have took my taser out and I would have tased him. And I go, okay.
It's even worse.
So so let me get this straight.
You're going to use force instead of giving him verbal commands.
Right. So you would have tased a guy handcuffed on the ground, face down, and said, whatever, stop grabbing my gun belt, whatever you were going to say while he's taking a 5-second ride. That's going to look great on camera.
Right.
But you didn't drop the F-bomb.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's going to when he gets the voltage.
I go, I could have articulated up and down. I could have dropped an elbow right into that dude's chin and broke it if I wanted to. And I didn't. All I did was pin him and said what I said. And guess what happened? It all stopped. It all went away. So you don't think that if there was an issue with this in a jury trial, because they're trying to say, oh, but in a jury trial, they're going to lose their mind, blah, blah. Like, first of all, that's not the crime. That's not what we're here for. But if they brought this up during a jury trial, you don't think if I explained what the potential outcome could have been and then what I chose to do, you don't think a reasonable person is going to side with that?
Let's start with, you go to a jury trial, what about what you did is a defense for anything any criminal act he committed? It's not, right? So any DA worth their salt, when the defense attorney starts to go down the line of questioning, is going to say, objection, Your Honor, relevance, right? That's 101.
That's another issue with the DA's office out here, man. They're fucking in their own world. But
what's crazy is that you have supervisors who are trying to like think like an attorney, and we are told as cops, we're not supposed. That's not our job. Is to not think of what's going to happen like at court. It's what's happening right now. What are the laws being broken right now? We arrest, and it's up to the attorneys to decide what happens. It's not up to us to try to foresee what's going to happen and then try to react on that beforehand. It's like putting the cart before the horse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's when bad decisions can get made. And I kind of remember thinking this way too when I was a younger cop. Like I kind of cared more about certain cases now that I look at that are just I think about it, they're just dumb. Like do your job, arrest people what you need to arrest people for. And, if they don't file on it, that's on them. You did your job, do it thoroughly, and then ultimately they have a decision to make. And so if they make the decision, great. If they don't, it is what it is. You can't hold that shit to heart. You know what I mean? So anyways, they wrote me up for that. They wrote me up for some dude coming up and talking shit to me in a parking lot, literally minding my own business. The guy just walked up to my window, started talking shit. I told him to go sit in his fucking car. Wrote me up for that.
You think that was a plant?
No. I got over about a year and a half. 3 people had actually it's 2, but we're gonna say 3 people had complained. Not even a formal complaint, just called. We're talking about 3 people in a year and a half just called and said this officer didn't use his blinker. They wrote me up for that, and again, they're writing me shit. They're writing me up for this a year and a half later.
Wow.
One of the 3 was a dude that actually ran from me in a car and got him stopped finally, and blah blah blah. So he came in to file a formal complaint because he said while I was basically chasing him, I didn't use my blinker. They used that against me. Write up.
What the fuck,
dude? I mean, and this is even after I was exonerated from that incident.
One. Right.
It's. I mean, just petty bullshit. I mean, they're fucking retarded. They're dumb.
So, I was gonna say, why didn't you sue? Was it just because you wanted to save face because you want to leave and just not have that hanging over your head when you went to a different agency?
Well, I had a retaliation thing going. It's still kind of going. It's kind of on a pause right now. But at the time, towards the end of this, my goal was to just get out. Like, why start some shitstorm when I could just leave? When I don't necessarily want to go to another department again. But if the best thing I have is, anyways, I was just trying to leave. There was one tipping point where there was a deputy. And I'm going to say his name because he's a lying piece of shit, and he has been ever since I've known him. But his last name's so if anyone knows him, sorry, but not sorry. He got into a little bit more than he could chew in the city of Post Falls when he works for another state's sheriff's department with some female in his car that might have been his girlfriend. Nobody knows. And long story short, I mean, this is to make a very long story short. He was putting things out on the radio that would constitute any officer showing up ready to go full blown in a fight. And so myself and a few other officers get there and snatch this dude up, this guy that he was dealing with, snatch him up. Literally nothing happens except for as I'm putting this guy in cuffs, he's a little resistive, but we put him over the hood of the car, cuff him up. Funny part is there was another officer that actually grabbed this dude by the back of his head and literally slammed him on the hood of the car. Wasn't even me. I was holding on to the guy's arm. A female suspect involved gets in my face because this deputy didn't want to touch her. I had to launch her across the hood of the car because she's literally screaming in my face and spit hit my face. It was a shit show. He put out a help call. And long story short, as I'm leaving, I'm being told that this deputy is on the phone with my command staff talking about an excessive use of force. And I was like, what? I was like, I grabbed the dude's arm. Anyways.
Wow.
Came back into work that night. Boom. Paid me for an excessive use of force allegation. Now, mind you, this video was already reviewed right after the incident by a supervisor and was shown that there was nothing there. But the department thought, nah, we got him and we're going to fire him for this. So they put me out. And it wasn't until I think 2.5, almost 3 weeks later, they finally brought me back and exonerated me from everything that they knew was actual chicken shit and lies. less than 24 hours after the actual incident even took place.
Uh-huh.
So while I was out, I was, getting my stuff together for a lawsuit. I was getting my stuff together to get out of this police department and all this stuff. And this is not even, and I'm not even going over the things that I've seen other officers and command staff do, like the same captain I talked about serving a warrant. He was impatient and he just crawled through a window he just crawled through a window on a dope warrant. Number one, captain has no business being on a search warrant of mine or any search warrant for that matter, unless you're such a small agency that literally he's a body.
He's a working captain.
Right.
Yeah. Second, he thinks he's Captain America, and because we were getting ready to boot the door in because the guy had changed the locks, he decided to just crawl through a window that was to go to the front door, which was barricaded by two assholes inside.
What the fuck?
I lost my mind about that one too. So, anyways, I'm trying to paint this picture of a giant show, right? And then how they treat officers that would ultimately start to fight back against this. So ultimately, what it took was me literally getting a connection to the mayor. And it was like, hey, just so you know, you got some stuff going on at this department that is all bad with how they're treating people. They've lost, I think at the time before I had left, they had lost, I think 8 cops, six to 8 cops within a year or something like that, year and a half.
Wow.
For a smaller agency, that's obviously clearly there's a cancer there.
There's an issue.
So I reached out to the mayor. I was like, hey, look, you got issues. And he invited me to his house and we had a long conversation at his house and was like, this is what's going on, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
I was like, I already know they're getting ready they already have an IA on me for something else that they actually haven't even informed me of. But I had enough connections within the department to know, to have enough people respect me to be like, hey, dude, just so you know, they're going to try and throw you under the bus again for some bullshit. So basically what I told the mayor was, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is what I want. I want out. I don't want anything but out. And so just let me leave. And basically he did that. He did that for me. Everything literally, I went to work pretty much, I think it was like 2 days later, and everything fucking disappeared. Everything disappeared. No one would even look at me fucking sideways. You have to also remember there's also allegations from other officers so there's other things going on. There was retaliation stuff going on with a female officer. There was an issue with another lateral that they had said he had lied about things when he clearly did not, and he had the proof to show it. And then they still decided to tell him he needed to resign in lieu of termination. This is a huge thing that, this is number one, this is huge in law enforcement in general, but when you don't have a union too, like this agency didn't have a union. And so there was
really?
Yeah, there was no one to protect anyone. So these people just run around doing whatever they want, literally whatever they want. And, so now you get a case where a good cop in trying to do the right thing, telling them respectfully, hey, look, you guys don't know what you're doing and you guys need some help. Them not accepting the help and them basically being like, you know what? No, our way or the highway, this is the way. And they're lucky. This place, dude, Post Falls is lucky that they don't have more people that want to kill cops because the training is crap. They don't support their police officers. And, it's all bad news. It's just all bad. That place.
Do you think a lot of these issues stemmed from one of three things? Do you think a lot of it stemmed from, just inexperience and, you're uncovering things that they're really inexperienced on and they really don't know how to proceed and they don't want to, like the top people at your department and the DA's office? Or do you think it was more of like you just uncovered something and they don't want you to uncover it because other people are complicit in it? Maybe.
It was both.
Maybe
I wouldn't go towards corruption first. I would never remember the razor. Never blame on malice. Never blame on malice that which you can blame on stupidity or incompetence. Right.
Yeah,
so
I didn't hear you say. I didn't hear you say corruption. Sorry. So yeah, I wouldn't.
I didn't, but I kind of leaned towards it.
Oh. I mean, I do believe I can clear after everything I've been through. There is a corrupt lieutenant, and there is a corrupt captain, and there is a corrupt chief. There, 100%. Now, what level of corruption are you talking about? Doing illegal things? I mean,
well, yeah, you have to define corruption, right?
Yeah. I mean,
morally corrupt? Are they economically corrupt? Are they just bad?
Like, is he getting 50% off at the Chevy dealership, or is he getting kickbacks from a cartel?
Right, or is he just
these people
in the pocket of business owners and city councilmen who can tell him what to do because he wants to be chief someday, right? There's there's lots of different levels of influence, right, that people can have, and
Yeah.
that's the hard part to suss out.
Well, I later found out. So yes, I think in the beginning there was a lot of ignorance. However, that stuff kind of goes out the window when you've got not just me, you got a lot of people with lots of different experience, more experience than me coming in saying the same things I'm saying, and so now it's a matter of we're just not listening to anymore. Like we hear you guys, and you might be right because we've also been told that we were right, but they were just going to choose not to do anything about certain things. So then you have that. So you have that.
Right, and that comes from the city.
Well, yeah. So, well, hold on. I mean, yes and no. I think at some point it'll come from the city because the city is looking at numbers going, what the fuck is going on with this town? So I did find out that there was definitely pressure from the city to the command staff, basically going, oh man, what's going on? Like, this is a small bedroom community. Why is all this stuff happening? Why are all these people getting caught in our city doing this? Blah, 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 blah. But what? Shame on you as a leader, to then come back to the cops that are trying to do a good job and then punish them because the city wants this place to look like something that it actually really isn't. That's not a leader to me. And realistically, they have lost sight of what they have chose to do this job for. People don't move to cities to be like, oh my gosh, crime rate's so high, I'm going there. Like that doesn't make any sense. Your job. Yeah, one of the biggest factors, if not the biggest factor, people move certain places is because they want to feel safe. Okay, well, who keeps you safe? The fucking police. So shame on command staff or any police officer that thinks that, oh well, the city said this, so we just need to back off and then punish people for it. Fuck yourself. I don't know. I will never stand for that.
Here's what I will say, coming from a smaller agency, as opposed to some of you guys who have come from bigger agencies. There is a level of you're under a microscope, right? Like when you go to bigger agencies, the chief has no idea who you are. The mayor has no idea who you are. The city council has no idea who you are, right? When you go to smaller agencies, you might actually, there's a high likelihood you could pull over the mayor. The mayor might know who you are. The chief will know your name. He'll know he'll know your face. He'll know you on site, right? And it can be difficult to operate under that type of a microscope. There's a lot of that tactical in progress stuff that you're talking about that, like you're saying, you do probation at a big agency and you've got a 20-year career at a small agency, right? But at the same time, the flip side that you find is we would have guys that would come up to our agency from bigger agencies and they would only know how to take a face page. They wouldn't know how to do an investigation because they had spent 3 or 4 or 5 years just on patrol, shagging calls, doing face pages, and they had no follow-up skills. And it wasn't that they couldn't be taught it; it's just that they didn't know it, right? So there's that level of things too, right? So you got to take those things into account as being a totally different environment. But then some small agencies are really run well because they have good quality people, and some smaller agencies don't, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I would say that one of the most important things that you have and that other cops need who are maybe struggling at their agency or looking at, yourself, right? You know what you want, you know who you are, and you know what kind of a cop you are. I was told when I would butt heads with, I had a guy come from a bigger agency, come and go to my smaller agency, and he looked at me and he goes, dude, you'd be so much better suited at a bigger agency because like the things you do, the way you think, that's big city, like not small town, right? And I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. I grew up in a big city, so that's my mindset, right? So I had to adjust, but it didn't make it any more easy or difficult.
Sure.
You're saying that now you had to go through this level of like swampy bullshit to find out that this agency, they present well, right? But it's not
present very well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I, without mentioning anybody, we both know other people that have gone to that agency and are flourishing, right? And I think it's
and bouncing.
well, so that's the thing. Like, if you got to bounce like you did because this isn't a good fit for me. And rather than I skate uphill my entire career, it's easier just to punch out. Now, if that means you leave some scorched earth behind, sometimes you leave some scorched earth behind. The feelings are going to get hurt. That's just the
I'm
nature of
actually really impressed by you too, because I know you very well, and I think the way you handled it was probably really mature. And if it was to be like 10 years ago, I think it would have been handled a lot differently. And I think he really thought it through, and the
well,
way
he's
you
a
went
dad
about
now.
it.
He's got 2 kids.
Yeah, he's
It's
got 2 kids, so he's grown up. He's more mature. No, but like the way you thought about it is a completely different mindset. You're like,
True.
okay, you get your ducks in a row instead of just like coming at it like hot and emotional, right? You thought it through methodically, and that's really what needs to happen, because an agency like this who's willing to hide things, to brush it under the rug, to make their city look better, and do that whole like ComStat BS hiding where you're like trying to fluff up the numbers and get rid of all your dangerous crimes and put them to like a part 2 instead of a part 1,
Right.
And it's kind of padding the numbers to be like, look, we're doing better, but you're really not. You're just changing things and hiding things and playing sleight of hand. And I feel like that was happening here because they don't want the backlash. They don't want the kickback. They just want to keep their easy career like they've had going for such a long time. And then you have officers coming around and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. This isn't what we do here. Stop it. We don't know how to handle this shit.
And as a cop, you should, if you go to another agency or you start at your original agency and you think it's one thing and you realize it's another, you got to have the maturity and the foresight to say, okay, this is your agency, this is your city. If this is what you want, you can have it. It's not for me. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where you got to.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's ultimately what happened. But short of not being a fit, man, and I can't speak for everyone's careers because everyone's got different careers and whatever else. But I mean, at least for my career, man, they're just, command staff is just all the same. They're all shady. They're all. I mean, I think I've known one. Lieutenant who ultimately got promoted to a captain that I could honestly say I knew that guy would have gone to war with me. But besides that, I mean, I'm talking about committing crimes, dude. Like so. For example, on my way out, and again, I think a lot of this stuff disappeared because of the things that I was telling the mayor that I knew that I don't think they knew I knew. For example, they're saying that this lateral officer, lied about where he was at a certain time or some shit. Well, funny story. Legitimately, he did inform a lieutenant where he was. It's via text message, and it was at an airport because he was coming back from vacation, I think it was. And his phone, he had switched his phone into airplane mode before the text had sent. So it didn't get sent until actually he landed again. And when he turned his phone back on, it sent. So they're saying there's some sort of like few hour difference or some shit, something dumb. So what they did was they inputted his plate into an LPR camera on the 90 and basically started taking pictures of his truck as he's coming in, blah, blah, blah. Basically doing an investigation and using a system that you cannot use for something like that unless you have an active IA going. They're using it and basically being like, oh, look at these pictures. And I'm like, hold on. Number one, I'm pretty sure that's against the law. And number two, it's for sure as hell against policy. And so I started, and again, cops that are listening, know your fucking policy. Because honestly, I feel like that's how I survived this career. So I just hopped on and started reading it. 100% flat out violation of policy. There's no going about it. The captain used his wife, who works in HR, to do this.
Wow.
Shady
abuse of power
shit. And you want to talk about having like, and I loved, and once this all came out, and I waited almost a year. Well, I waited about a year to just let all this stuff come out. And it was nice when I was like, who's got the power now, bitches? So, they didn't like that I knew all these things. And, my fear is, cause I've got friends that, pretty much everyone that I hung out with is gone, but there are still a few people that are either on their way out now or that are still there for whatever reason. And my fear is that, they make one wrong move or say the one wrong thing. And then guess what? They're going to be in the same boat I was. And I'm not about it. So, we got some other things in the works to kind of get a lot of this information out as well.
That's good.
So now let's do the positive stuff. You have found an agency that you have told me and Chuck privately you feel suits your personality better. So without, we won't get into the specifics necessarily, but let's talk about the things you like.
You talking about where I'm at now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so realistically, I went
Maybe
back
give us some
to
fun stories from FTO, because this is now your 4th FTO program.
Boot.
Poor bastard.
garbage. It's fucking garbage.
That sucks, dude.
Yeah, it sucks. It does suck. But you know what? When I see those paychecks, I'm like, fuck it. Like, it is what it is.
Right.
That's a really good jump, dude. Like that's fucking night and day.
Dude, I'm getting paid more than I was in California
Yeah,
starting.
I
Wow.
know.
So yeah, obviously positives. You know, you have obviously the pay. You got the schedule is really, really nice. I feel like I'm off work more than I'm at work. I said one of the things I said when I first even moved to Idaho, while also in the process of just getting hired in Idaho, is like everyone's fucking weird, like just like weird people. Like, and I feel like I'm in an agency where I'm back to like number one, Cali cops. Like, there's a lot of laterals there from all sorts of places, but everyone's fucking normal. So everyone is normal people, which is nice. Has they're weirdos, but whatever.
There's weirdos at every agency.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a bigger agency now, so now I have more people around.
Spread out.
Yeah, more spread out, more people around, more areas.
Right.
And this is where I started in a bigger city. So I feel like I never would have left San Fernando per se, but if we hadn't moved out of state.
Right.
But
and if they hadn't been going the same direction of
Right.
Yeah. But realistically, I feel like I'm like, man, the second I walked into a bigger agency where I don't know anyone and people don't know me, and there's a million places to move around, I'm just like, man, this is what I remember, and this is how I enjoy this. Besides that, I mean, it seems, and again, they could be putting on a fucking great show, but
Right.
I mean, I highly doubt it. I mean, considering that I showed up, were we recording when I spoke about the funeral thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I didn't inquire about any of that stuff. I mean, they just did it for me.
Right. They knew where you came from.
Yeah.
And they took care of you.
Yeah. And that's some old school stuff that I feel like you just don't hear about anymore. And I've been taken care of throughout the entire process. I think the laterals are treated very, very differently. I don't get treated like a boot. I've been in a car for a training car for what? Maybe a couple weeks now, 3 weeks. And they're literally just saying like, dude, we're not teaching you anything. We just need to get your orientation down a little bit better, and then you'll get kicked out. So it's not like they're making me go through this fucking drug out long FTO program because our way is the way type thing. A lot of their stuff is streamlined as far as like their computer systems and how they book people and all that stuff. Super streamlined.
It's weird. There's this sweet spot between a small agency that nitpicks and doesn't know what they're doing because they don't have a lot of resources, or they have to constantly reinvent the wheel, versus a huge, ginormous mega agency where it's so big they can't manage it. And then you find this sweet spot where it's a big agency with good resources, but small enough that it's not hard to manage, and you can streamline things, and you've been there, you've done that. I have talked to cops that have worked at I'll call them medium-sized agencies in California, where they told me the OIS process when an officer gets involved in a shooting, and I was just floored at how dialed in, like by the numbers, they knew what they were doing. Yeah. And so I think you probably have found that sweet spot, an agency that, I mean, the city you're in is an old city, right?
Yeah, very old.
This area is very old, but they have been doing this for a long time. They have the experience. They've, been there, got the t-shirt kind of a thing. And then they're benefiting from the fact that they promoted properly, right? They have the right leadership in place in a lot of these areas. Now, that's not to say that there's not still going to be messed up admin in there somewhere, because
you'll find
them. They'll know admin's admin. You're going to find them. But I've experienced something similar recently. I've talked about having a new job, and you go to a place, and all of a sudden they appreciate your experience. They recognize that you know what they're doing. They don't micromanage you. They encourage you. They support you, and they give you the resources you need to do your job. And that's all you ask for.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. And I know every department is going to have their issues, so there's going to be some ups and downs, and that's totally fine. But I'm at a point in my career where I feel like I'm still proactive enough to where this is a good spot where I can, it's busy enough, where there's a lot of radio calls, but there's enough cops to handle them. I can be proactive when I want, and there's enough units for me to look at to be, like, okay, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do now. This is what I want to do now. This is what I want to. Okay, I want to be a detective. Cool. To take the detective test.
Right.
Blah blah.
Right.
So,
you're
and
not
like
waiting for somebody to retire out of a spot for a
Right.
million years.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, again,
Well, so tell us what's some of the best stuff you've dealt with since going there. Give us it's war stories. We got to have at least one or two cool stories from getting there.
so I work so right now I work our downtown district. So realistically, I'm dealing with a bunch of homeless people a lot.
Did you request that?
No.
No.
It
How do
probably
I get to Charlie? Where do I get to request on training? Like, oh, I would like to do my training in this division. Like,
Like a wish list?
no.
I don't know how big it is.
No, no. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 areas. No. So no.
They just basically said you're going to get a bath right away.
Yeah, they said. I mean, they basically said that they try to do their best with their, the personality that's coming in. They try to pair them with, someone they think, is going to go well, especially with the FTOs. They want people to get along and just have an easy transition and have more of a mentor rather than a trainer. They don't need to train you.
Awesome that they think that way.
Yeah.
Instead of we're going to bring this dude in and stick him with somebody who's going to teach him how we do it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Fucking Post Falls Police Department. Anyway, I can't stand. I
just love that between you and a couple other guys from Cali, their now unofficial policy that I've heard is no more people from Cali.
No more. Literally, no more. I think they actually just stopped taking laterals. Period.
Oh,
really?
Okay.
We're just like, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. We talk too much apparently. So I'm trying to think. It was funny. So this kind of, I guess this isn't like super crazy, but it was kind of funny because I'd never actually seen this in person. So I'm right. This is like week 2, and we're in this shithole neighborhood, and I see these 2 dudes smoking dope. They're smoking fentanyl. Like, so basically, the way I kind of describe this is like they're standing next to like I would say like a chest high retaining wall. So they have they're facing away from the street, looking at the retaining wall, and I could see the little foilie and the little tube in their mouth or whatever fucking straw, and they're hitting the foil. And so I creep up behind them, and me and my FTO get out. And pretty much right when we're pretty much on them, one guy kind of turns around. I snatch him up real quick. He grabs the other guy. And my guy's kind of being a little weird, but whatever. I'm able to cuff him up. And as I look to my right, I could tell my FTO's he's got the guy's facing away from him, but he's holding his arms and he's like, come on, dude, put your hands behind your back, put your hands behind your back. But the guy is stiff. Like, he's not moving. And he's looking straight down. And I'm kind of looking at him like, wow, that looks fucking weird. And so even he can probably feel in his body, because he's touching him, that the guy's not fighting him. Like, something's off. And
Rigor.
basically,
it's rigor.
he tries to move him a little bit, and the dude's ODing, like legit, just ODing. Like,
he's not dead, but he's ODing.
He's ODing. As he put his hands on him, he starts ODing, and the guy just fucking like a statue just falls straight back. Boop.
Oh shit! ODing standing straight up like a stiff board.
Yeah, and I was like,
that's wild.
So anyways, so that was the main part of the story, was that literally the second he touched him was the moment he started overdosing. I think we hit him like with 2 or 3 Narcans, and then ultimately the fire showed up and hit him with more, I think. And then it was so funny, like normal. Wow. He fucking comes back, he realizes what's going on. He basically told us to go fuck ourselves and bounce.
Wow.
And that was
like, okay, see you later.
We just talked about this with Matt, because he just finished EMT school, and he was talking about Narcan, and it's always you stole my high.
I mean, I'm Narcaned a bunch of people, but I've never actually seen what an OD looks like as it's actually starting to happen. Wow, which is it's a trip. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, because even in their fucking high state, they start to look different. It's fucking weird.
They're dying.
Crazy.
Yeah, for sure. No, they're dying. They're 100% dying.
That's so weird. You're watching a slow death, and you're like, wait, what?
I've seen their face just start to
I've never seen it happen this slow.
Yeah, but the best part about it was when he fell backward, literally me, the guy I was dealing with, and the FTO were all looking at him like, the fuck just happened?
Right.
Like what? Like, almost like had to process it for a sec. Like what?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
still got the tutor in his mouth. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
No shit. He still had it in his mouth.
Yeah,
Awesome.
other than, I'm trying to think. Like, it's,
And I want
Bolts
people
on
to
you a lot
picture.
there, right?
I want people to picture like downtown. There's an elevated like train tracks. There's brick and rusty steel, and
yeah,
there's old factories, and like
Looks like
think
Gotham.
yeah, no, it's almost like a mini Detroit. Like
yeah, I could
it's
see that in some
it's
areas for
Yeah.
sure. I could see
there's
that.
some really old neighborhoods where the houses are 120 years old,
Yeah,
and still standing.
yeah,
There's big giant brick building, and then it's kind of built up. There's part of it that's built up a hill, so it's a very different environment up here physically than say Southern California would be, because Southern California, it's a flat grid, right? A lot of places you go, it's just a big flat grid.
yes,
And up here, it's not. Like there's, hills you have to go around and up, and elevated train tracks and highways and byways and lakes and rivers that you have to navigate that you just don't in Southern California. So there's an actual like getting used to the physical environment, I think, too.
yes.
Was it hard to get used to the streets?
Um, well, first of all, a lot of these areas I've never even been to still in my life, so I couldn't tell you where the fuck
Oh,
things are at. But
good.
the downtown area, actually, I probably felt comfortable in about a week and a half. The problem with downtown is that although it's not that big, there's a lot of one ways. So
Yes.
yeah, so besides
It's a
the one
little
way,
confusing that way.
yeah, and then so besides the one ways, when it gets dark, you don't necessarily have reference points. So like if it's daytime, I can look one way and notice there's a hill there. So I'm like, okay, that's south. Or if I'm looking around and I see, oh wait, I could tell there's probably water over there because the river. Okay, that's north. Because of the way downtown's positioned. But once night falls, it's pretty easy to get fucking turned around because you can't see around you with big buildings, right?
Right.
So but I feel comfortable now. But for sure, I would say still fucks me up. It would be the one ways. You're
Yeah.
like, fuck. I was like, I know I'm here, but then I'm like, shit, now I got to go a few more blocks to get on another one way to come back to get on the other side of the street. It's fucked.
Well, you're in a city that's going to have a hood when you have a street named Division, right? You always know
And
that, right?
and Martin Luther King Boulevard, just saying.
And so,
yeah.
do you have an MLK?
Yeah,
Oh, you do have an MLK. Okay. Is
Yeah,
it on the south end?
it is.
Okay. How is the south end?
Yeah, so I would say, what's funny is, to me, the South End, for sure has its shitty areas,
Uh-huh.
uh, and looks shitty,
Uh-huh.
but the northwest portion of the city is fucking busy. It's super
Okay.
weird.
All right. So
Super
we've got
weird.
an outlier. It's always the south end until it's the northwest, apparently.
Yeah, I just feel like on the northwest end is just where it's
Well,
where
that's
predominantly
leaning
pop
towards
up.
Seattle.
Right.
So
Yeah, that would make sense.
that would make sense, right?
Yeah, but the South Hill, it's pretty nice. The South Hill has got some baller homes. Just
Oh, yeah.
gorgeous.
It's a beautiful area for sure. Like there are some really pretty areas where you work. I've been out there. But again, there's a reason why the people that don't live there call it rhymes with Anistan.
Yeah. That's true.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard rhymes with Ompton too, right? Like
yeah, that's true.
It-
What was I gonna say?
Really?
So for the first time last night, because I've never actually worked in an area where I had to let cars run. And so because the pursuit policies in the state are so strict for the most part,
Mhm.
for the first time ever in my career, I literally got behind a car for a dude that was wanted for a crime. And car just took off. And literally I turned my lights off and I watched him sail away. And that was it.
How'd
And
you
I
feel?
was
Oh my gosh! So there's zero pursuit policy.
It's not zero.
No, it's not zero.
It's one.
Yeah, so like it's
So it's only
basically
murders.
they call them bark crimes. So besides murder, clearly murder is a thing you can chase.
Right.
Burglary, first and second degree, arson, first and
Right.
second degree, robbery, first degree,
Bark.
kidnapping, extortion, I think is one of them. Like extortion first degree or some shit like that.
You have to have a clearly articulable heinous, violent, like
Yeah.
real crime to chase people.
Yeah. Which again, I'm actually not opposed to that at all.
Sure.
Because why risk
Who's their danger?
family getting fucking schmucked
Right.
over a theft? You know what I mean? Like, I
So-
get it. When it comes to that, where my issue lies is like, if it's 3:00 in the morning and there's no fucking buddy on the road, chase that shit till the wheels fall off. Fuck it.
Right. So if it's a warrant for like burglary or robbery, you still can't chase it because he's a known suspect and you know where he lives.
No, we could chase
if
it.
it's
So if it's a warrant, if it's an actual arrest warrant for those charges, we can
you're
chase
good?
that. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sounds like you're happy where you're at. We're glad you came back to check in. I'm just stoked that. Well, first of all, I'm stoked that we're still hanging out. We got to go hunting. John and I are finding time to go hunting this season together.
Charlie, come on, get up here so we can start going hunting. Let's go.
I know.
I just gotta get cleared.
And it's also nice to have somebody to watch hockey games with, even though you can't watch one tonight with me. So selfishly, I'm just. What's that?
There's a Kings game on tonight.
There it is.
Oh,
But
I watched one the other.
working.
I watched. Huh?
You're working tonight, so
Yeah, I have bar patrol because of Halloween.
Bar Patrol.
Fuck yeah, dude. Tell me how that is, because that's got to be fucking epic.
It's
Dude.
Right on. And do you get to wear the pajamas, the jumpsuit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. This is okay.
pretty
So
cool.
this is the thing I learned up here, where I was like, that would have been cool. They have jumpsuits that look like uniforms from a distance. Then you get a little bit closer and you realize, oh, it's got a bunch of utility pockets, but it still kind of looks like a uniform. And then you get even closer and you realize it's a legit like jumpsuit, and they come in different weights. There's like the lightweight summer version, there's the midweight fall version, and then there's the heavyweight winter version.
So
A
comfortable.
tactical flight suit.
Everybody that wears them up here swears by them, and I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, they're fucking so comfortable.
Yeah. So
I used to see my dad's blue suit on CHP, and I was like, "Fuck, I want to wear that. Looks like pajamas. You get to go."
but those were the coveralls.
Fuck
These
yeah,
are
bro.
even better, dude. They're not even the coveralls. These are like uniform material. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Miss flight too.
Anyway, well, we're closing out today, and I know we normally do a dedication. John, I think we kind of stole your dedication by doing it last week.
No, okay.
But I believe, Chuck, you've got a dedication for this week.
Yes, I pulled one. It's police officer Chad Swanson. Police officer Chad Swanson was killed in a motorcycle crash on the 405 highway at Del Amo Avenue. While on his way to work at 5:15 a.m., a vehicle struck his department motorcycle after another vehicle was made an unsafe lane change. The impact threw Officer Swanson off his motorcycle. He was transported to Harbor Medical Center, where he died from his injuries. In 2017, despite being wounded at the Route 91 Harvest Country Music Festival, he repeatedly ran into the crowd, bringing people to safety. Officer Swanson had served with the Manhattan Beach Police Department for 13 years and previously served at the Hawthorne Police Department. He is survived by his wife and 3 sons and parents. He was 35 in a 13-year tour.
So rest easy, brother. We've got it from here. Yeah, it's always a bummer. So we will keep doing those and paying tribute to our fallen brothers and sisters. And we also have our normal housekeeping. So Chuck, why don't you tell people how they can support us and how they can reach us?
Well, first off, thank you everyone for joining us and listening to us. Please rate and review us on whatever podcast platform you listen to. That's how we grow. That's how we can get out there. That's the algorithm. So please rate and review us. Hit that like button, subscribe button, the bell, all that fancy stuff. And then please go to our Instagram at war_stories_official and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. You can like and do all that stuff there. You can hit the link in our bio to hit all of the social media stuff, even our website. But our website is www.warstoriesofficial.com. We have some merch up there, so go ahead and grab some of that. That's another way to support us. If you think you have a story you want to share, please go to booking.warstories@gmail.com. Again, that is booking.warstories@gmail.com, and I can get you booked. We're always looking for veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, medics, but also corrections, dispatchers, and nurses. If you have a friend who you think would be a great fit, let them know about us. Give them our email. Thank you.
And for all those of you that, and for all those of you that send me the emails by mistake, I just forward them to him. So, so just remember that. But We will talk to you next week. Remember to tune in for our live shows. We do our live debriefs, but we also do the locker room live. We got to have John come on to locker room one night and just pick around and have some good times.
Yeah.
You haven't done one forever. But we got the live show.
Debrief.
Locker Room Live is Wednesday nights at 8:30 Pacific time. So if you want to join us for that, just remember to follow us on. If you follow us on YouTube, or you follow us on Facebook, or you follow us on Twitch, you'll get the notifications when we're going live. But Locker Room is typically Wednesday nights 8:30 Pacific. So we'll see you then. And until our next episode, come home with your shield or honor.